Hello folks, greetings from my hangout in Subang Jaya. Today I'm going to talk about an issue related to archery that caught my attention when I read my club's message board last night. It's about some guy at a paid range who dislocated his shoulder while doing archery. So what happened according to the message is that the guy held his bow, and then during full draw upon release, the guy dislocated his shoulder. So there was a lot of hoo-ha going down. The guy was in pain, and the range owner, the first thing that came to mind was he responded by getting him an ambulance, and the guy made his way to the emergency room to get his dislocated shoulder reduced. So why am I interested in this? Dislocated shoulder is one of my favorite subjects. Okay, and when it comes to archery, someone getting such a serious injury at full draw and release is something that is very, very super rare. So to give you a clearer picture, I'm just going to read the message from the guy who posted it on his Facebook. So my friend Jeb, who is an internet sleuth, a Facebook detective, managed to get this and shared the information with us on our club's chat group. So it reads, Bamboo Archery, Malaysia. All right. Okay, hold on. I lost the message there. This okay. This is the actual message. All right. Holy shit! This is not a joke. Someone's bow shoulder dislocated on release. So I'm just going to comment as I read this. Bow shoulder. Are you serious? Bow shoulder? There's no such thing as a bow shoulder. In archery terms, yes, something related to your body, there will be a bow arm, your entire arm that holds your bow. So if you're a person who draw with the right hand, your left hand is your bow arm, and if the right hand that is being used to draw the bow, your string, is your draw arm. So he went on to say, what did I learn? If you have a history of shoulder dislocation, degenerated muscles, then bow hand shock may be dangerous. Now, okay, along the line of history of shoulder dislocation, okay, that one checks. Degenerated muscles, if you have an unstable shoulder, yes, but that won't come under degenerated muscles. That will be like weak muscles. Then he went on to say bow hand shock may be dangerous. Okay, I'm going to continue. Cheap 20-pound fiberglass bow is enough to blow the shoulder on release. It's outright scary and painful. When you say something like this, you are fear mongering. You are putting fear into people that, if you have a cheap bow and you have also, somehow or other you have a history of shoulder dislocation and degenerated muscles, when you draw the bow, upon release, when the string goes back to the bow and with this hand shock thing, right, it's dangerous. So I think there's a lot of misinformation going down. Okay, the guy went on to say, most people will tell you there's little to no hand shock on their bow. Just because you're numb and insensitive does not mean the hand shock is not there. So very, very sarcastic, trying to whack somebody and all that. But never mind. I believe this guy is a very young person. If you can feel the bow launching with authority, that's exactly what hand shock is. What the hell is launching with authority? I just don't get it. Okay, it doesn't make sense. The whole sentence is just taken out of context. If there's truly no shock at all, you can't feel anything, you won't even know the arrow has left. With enough hand shock, you can dislocate your shoulder! Exclamation. Okay, another misleading statement actually. Just because somebody dislocated the shoulder on release doesn't mean it's entirely the bow's fault. You got to look at the person. You know, the guy may have a history of shoulder dislocation before, and if the person did not remedy the issue immediately, like going for physiotherapy and electrotherapy to actually smoothen out all the scar tissue on the shoulder capsule, then the probability of dislocation is very high, especially among people who are young and below the age of 30. Why? Because my orthopedic specialist told me that these guys will be very prone to dislocated shoulder if they don't do so. So he continued by saying, so if you're going for high poundages, make sure to use heavy arrows to keep the shock at minimal. What a scary experience today. So this message came pretty late last night, and everybody had a field time contributing comments and all that. There were some really very correct comment about hand shock and all that. And one of my friends in the group gave a really stupid comment. What an asshole. But never mind. I will continue here with a reaction from Coach Tan Peng Lun. Okay, he's a friend of ours. He used to be a coach with the National Paralympic team, and is now semi-retired. So he offered his feedback on the bow itself, because this guy is saying that, you know, the hand shock on the bow can dislocate your shoulder. So this is what Mr. Tan said. Hand shock is caused by the design of the bow, not the arrow. The story above doesn't make any anatomical sense. Okay, I want to stop there and add that Mr. Tan actually took up sports science. So the whole biomechanics of archery, he knows it very well. I'm going to continue. Hand shock occurs at the palm area and transferred to the radius bone, then the elbow. Shoulders are held together by flexible tendons and ligaments, ? Sam is the authority on this, I believe, with 2 dislocation. Okay, I'm going to get to that later. Shooting a 20-pound bow causing shoulder dislocation, anatomically not possible unless archer was taught to pull a heavy poundage bow with high shoulders. Then it's bad coaching. So okay, yes, I dislocated my shoulder in one day twice. So this is my story. Okay, what happened? I joined a 3D tournament. For the uninformed, 3D archery is basically shooting foam animal targets, and you're required to walk a course. So usually they have like 18 stations spread between the radius of 1 kilometer. So you have to walk and all that. So we did this in Kuala Pilah last year, and I joined the game. I had fun. And right to the end, where we were hiking the course, it started to rain, and the area surrounding the tournament area, the course area, is actually an ATV track, so it's very slippery. So what happened was, after finishing the last target, I went down to help my fellow archers in my group to help them to collect arrows. So I took a longer path because all my gear, everything, I couldn't pass through a very tight trail to get straight to the target. So what happened? I went on walking, and as I was approaching this path, it was completely slippery. So what happened was, I lost traction. Both my feet was up in the air, and I was falling face first. The knee-jerk reaction was to stretch my right hand to break my fall. So upon impact, I felt a very loud pop. So when I tried to get up after falling down, I couldn't use my right hand. My shoulder was dislocated. And, you know, I had people coming up to me and ask me, you know, hey, what's going on? So I said, I dislocated my shoulder. I couldn't lift my my hand because the upper arm, I can feel the the tip of my humerus, which is the ball joint on my chest. So I have actually an anterior dislocation. The whole bone popped out and ended up on my chest. I can feel the end of the humerus here. And at the time, I fell into shock. I you know, was already dizzy and all that. So I just lie down on my back and take a breather. So when I was able to gain composure, my first responder came. Somebody from the civil defense, who is a medic, and asked me, so what's wrong? I said, I dislocated my shoulder. I couldn't move my entire arm. You know, it's completely immobile. So there was a little bit of discussion there, and luckily on the spot there was a traditional bone healer. Okay, this what we call in Malay as tabib tulang. Very nice guy. I met him many times. Tuan Shaikh from Temerloh was at the tournament. So he came, he assessed the situation, he did a very thorough look at it. Then he said, you know, I'm just going to help you reduce your dislocation. So he did it. You know, the whole humerus went back to the joint. I can hear a click, and that was it. I was in business. But the story didn't end. I have to walk out from the trail, which was hell. And I had a lot of help from friends to take all my belongings back to the organizers tent and all that. And in my group there was a doctor, a friend of mine, Dr. Fazli, from Club Mamana GC Murni. So he said, Sam, you better get your shoulder looked at, get an x-ray, get it looked at, so that you don't have any further complication, and you will be out of action for at least 6 months to a year. So I said, okay, yeah, fine, you know. And I got everyone, you know, we were heading home. So we had to hike out to the main road, which is like a kilometer of hike. And I decided to take a shorter route, climbing the place, slippery and wet. So as I tried to lift myself on the railing, my shoulder dislocated again. And this time there's no tabib tulang. I was all by myself. So what I did was I just relaxed. A friend of mine, Jack, who was with me, helping me to carry my stuff, tried to, you know, help me to reduce the dislocated shoulder. There was nothing he could do. So I just sat down, relaxed, took a deep breath. I used my left hand to guide the end of the humerus back to the joint. When I hear this nice clicking sound, that was it. You know, my shoulder is back back where it should be. And I sat in my car. I didn't drive. My friend Jeb helped me to drive. Took about an hour. Went all the way back to Subang. We went to SGMC emergency room. I spent at least about 45 minutes to an hour there. Had my right shoulder x-rayed, you know, and the radiologist guy told me that, hey, look, your shoulder, you know, the bone is where it should be, you know, it's actually back in its original place. And I was given an arm sling, and I was discharged on the same day. So I managed to go home, feed my dogs and all that, you know. I took a couple of months off from archery. Most of the time I deal with managing the dislocated shoulder, and I did physiotherapy. And after 3 months, everything checked out okay. But as the, you know, all your soft tissue that was damaged started to heal, there's a lot of scar tissue around the shoulder capsule. So the shoulder capsule is actually a network of muscles and fibers and all that that holds it together. So the aim here is to have a stable shoulder. With a stable shoulder, I'm able to I'm able to perform internal rotation and external rotation. So it's the external rotation part that is actually killing me right now, because all the area here that heel is a bit stiff. So there's still a lot of physiotherapy work to be done, and I didn't blame my bow and all that. So actually after 3 months in December, I went to a game to fill in for my buddy. I went to Gope in Perak, and I actually shot my 35-pound bow. There was no hand shock, my shoulder did not dislocate, but to actually get a higher elbow with this limited range of movement, it was very difficult. So I couldn't really execute a back tension release, but rather a dead release, just open and then that's it. So these are the issues that you will experience post injury with the dislocated shoulder. And also after you dislocated your shoulder, as the tissues all starts to heal and all that, there will be a lot of scar tissues surrounding your shoulder capsule. So that will cause your shoulder to be a bit stiff. You can't actually reach out to your back. Sometimes you want to put on your pants and all that. You don't really have the range of movement. So you have to do a lot of physiotherapy. So part of my healing, my rehabilitation, was going to a physiotherapist to get electrotherapy done. So what they did was they actually used a ultrasound gun to break down all the scar tissue. So literally just you feel heat and all that, and then after the therapy, I'm not allowed to put cold or warm compression. So that I had to undergo about 4 electrotherapy treatments, and then there was sports rehab. So right now I'm in the phase where I'm doing sports rehab. I'm slowly getting back into archery. I'm using my draw arm, not bow shoulder, okay, my draw arm to draw, anchor and release. And so far so good. There's no issue and all that. And as also a precaution, I don't actually shoot heavy. I shoot target with a 32-pound. I shoot 3D with a 35-pound because I wanted the speed. Other than that, I think shoulder injury is something that you really have to pay attention to. So in my case, dislocation was I think very high up the echelon. Common shoulder injuries like a torn ligaments, torn rotator cuff, that will actually put you in the bench for at least 3 months to 6 months, or maybe a whole year to heal your injured muscles. So again, the guy may have given some information that are not really accurate, and okay, he went on to say, okay, I'm going to read one part of the message here. Bamboo Archery Malaysia, Albertus Wartono, he says 20 pound. I test draw, it felt like 15 actually. He's a newbie with minor past experience. Minor past experience. Minor experience, I think, would sum it up. He did some warm-up exercise before shooting any arrow. I didn't pay attention to him as I was serving another customer, not sure about the form. I wasn't looking, but he described that he was fine drawing the bow, but it was during the release that the dislocation happened. Okay, it clearly says here, from what I read, is the guy, he didn't actually didn't really medical history. Probably a young guy who had a dislocated shoulder, and the shoulder is unstable. So when you draw, any jerking movement, you flick, you jerk, the end of the humerus may have just popped out from your shoulder. And we debated about it, dislocation and all that. it's not a fun thing, okay? Number one, if you have a dislocated shoulder, again, I want to say, it will actually take you out of the sport for a while. The toughest part is getting back into the sport, okay? Say for instance, like you engage target archery. When you have a very stable shoulder, you have a very good range of movement, you know, your outer rotation is good, your joints, okay, all the tissue that attaches to the joint is not stiff. There's some sort of flexibility. You're able to execute a nice shot. You can actually use your back, okay, your upper back here, to help with the execution of the release. But when you have a really bad shoulder, what happened was you're just gonna have a very bad draw. Your shoulder, your elbow here will droop down, so you lose power. There's no clean transfer in terms of your release. So for me, it's starting all over again. It's back to basic, back to where I first began archery, when the arrow is everywhere. Okay, I've shot groups that are super tight, and I think 250, 260 is just not a problem, you know. Could have stepped it up even more. And the thing that you really need to look at after a bad shoulder injury is to getting strength back to your shoulder area, because the shoulder is actually quite a unique part of your body, which is very complicated, you know, because there's a ball joint, everything rotates, you know, there's a lot of movement, you know. You lift your arm up sideways and all that, and to the back, you know. Having said that, based on what I hear from my orthopedic specialist, is that people who do a lot of high lifting, okay, these guys are very prone to shoulder injury. So they normally have shoulder impingement. That means when you want to move your shoulder, there's a sharp pain because your bones are actually pinching on the muscles. There are many ways to go about it. You have to go for physiotherapy, and most of these physiotherapy sessions are just exercises to strengthen your muscles and around your shoulder capsule, your back, you know, and some of these tiny little muscles that are underutilized, that causes the shoulder to be very weak and unstable. Having said that, yeah, it's a medical thing. You can only feel the pain of that guy who dislocated his shoulder on a full draw and release when you actually experience a dislocated shoulder. But if you have never broken a bone, you have never experienced such a traumatic injury, then you'll never know. So another advice to you guys, you know, if you actually see somebody with a dislocated shoulder, right? Do not try to reduce their dislocated shoulder if you don't know. So the easiest thing to do is put the guy on a sling. You have a scarf, you have a towel, you can just sling the guy over, put him on recovery position, make his way to the emergency room, so the attending orthopedic specialist can actually pop the dislocated shoulder back to where it is. As far as pain is concerned, I have a very high threshold for pain. The first 1 or 2 hours, I didn't really feel anything. But as the adrenaline wears off, slowly, you know, by the end of the day, yeah, it feels terrible. And the days and weeks to come, you can actually feel all the damaged area, you know, like making all this clicking and clacking sound. But again, if you need to get back into the sports like archery, you need to use your upper body, your back, you know, your upper back strength and all that. Everything comes into play. You need to work on the physical rehab part. So yeah, that's it, man. Shoulder dislocation, my favorite topic. And you know, I commented on that message not to berate anyone, not to berate the person who posted it. I just made the comment to kind of like demystify a little bit, you know, about the relation of the bow and the person using it. So most of the time it's the archer, you know, not so much the equipment. But he can get technical only if the guy say like he's drawing a 70-pound bow and he dislocated his shoulder or release. then maybe, maybe, but hand shock and all that, nah, I don't think so. I shoot bows without stabilizers, dampeners, or weight. So if you have a properly designed bow, I think you don't really feel any hand shock. It's just very, very minimal, and it makes a sound like thunk. That's it. So yeah, man, there you have it, man. Shoulder dislocation. Thank you very much for listening, man, and have a good day. Yeah.